Well, welcome everybody. We're here today to have a little conversation about an amazing tool that can really boost your energy and support your health in all kinds of ways. And the best news of all, it's completely free.
Mhm.
So I'm Katie Dean, and I am the founder of Find My Energy. I help people recover from burnout, chronic fatigue, and better still, actually just help them avoid getting to the burnout stage in the first place, if that's at all possible. And I'm here today with the wonderful Ruth Watkins, and we're going to be talking about meditation. So, what it is, what it isn't, how you can build a practice into your life, and some of the common blocks that come up and get in the way for people benefiting from this. So, Ruth, I'll hand over to you to just introduce yourself and then we'll get started.
Okay, all right. Hello, everyone. As Katie said, I'm Ruth Watkins. I run a company called Sleep Success. Initially, I worked as a sleep therapist, once realizing that many people suffer, especially post-pandemic, sadly, from sleep deprivation. But then as a daily meditator myself, began to realize that daily meditation would just be such a brilliant tool for all these people who find it very difficult to sleep, to add to their arsenal to help them overcome their insomnia. And I decided that I wanted to do some further training as far as that was concerned. So I have just finished training with the British School of Meditation, which is a fantastic outfit. It was a long and complicated course. I had to do many essays that I haven't done for over 30 years, let's say.
Mhm.
So it was a lot to do, but it was a great course, and I feel I've come away with a fantastic qualification, which enables me now to teach meditation. So that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to concentrate mainly on my meditation because I believe that through that it can help many people to improve their sleep, as well as multitude of other benefits, physically, mentally, emotionally, and spiritually as well. So yes, that's who I am and that's what I do.
Oh, that's wonderful. Thank you, Ruth. And yes, I can personally testify that to the power of meditation. I mean, it's helped me enormously overcome the final stages in my own chronic fatigue journey.
Yes.
So, Ruth, I'd love to sort of go back to the beginning and
Uh-huh.
hear a little bit about your story and how that led you into this role in, working with people on their sleep. And obviously you just talked about how that's evolved into meditation. So
Yeah.
if you could share that with us, that would be wonderful.
Okay. Well, Katie, much like you, I am or have been and was an ME chronic fatigue sufferer.
Mhm.
I started to suffer from ME, or was diagnosed with, as it was then called, ME,
Mm,
when I was in my 30s.
right.
I was living in London. I was hugely busy
Mhm.
doing a job that I absolutely loved, but working mega long hours. I was not looking after myself properly, probably not eating healthily,
Mhm.
not doing enough exercise. I was probably stressed a lot of the time, and I became ill. And as it was, it turned out that what I actually had was shingles. And then within a year's period, I had it recurrently. I had it 3 times within a year. And I just didn't really get better from
Mhm.
having had shingles. I was left with all sorts of physical and mental issues that I was just not able to overcome. So I luckily, and certainly at that time, because ME was not a condition that was recognised very easily by the majority of GPs, I was living in London, and I was diagnosed by the Homerton Hospital in London and found a fantastic doctor in Marylebone who just was much more open to the idea that ME, chronic fatigue, did exist as a condition and was a serious condition that lots of people needed help. So I was so lucky to find him. It was sheer luck that I found him. He helped me tremendously, but I think back in those days again, treatments were limited.
Yeah.
They were a lot of it was medication.
Right.
I did have acupuncture, which helped. But initially, and I think predominantly, it was through medication that we worked. And that helped to a certain extent, but not really helping me to any great extent. So I had to stop work. I wasn't well enough to work, and I decided that I would really take a bit more control over what was happening to myself, by myself, and began to realize that there were lots of things that I could and couldn't do that would be of benefit, or certainly not a benefit, to help me with my recovery. One of those was I realized that I needed to get very good quality sleep. And as you know, Katie, when you suffer from chronic fatigue, sleep is one of the things that is a problem. So I tried, first of all, to improve my sleep. And when I did manage to do that, it helped tremendously. And I started to meditate. And that in itself was of huge benefit because it just lowered my stress response. I just became just much more laid back. I was able to sleep better. I did do various other things as well. I started working with a nutritionist, and that was at the Optimum Health Clinic, which both you and I know about because we've both been there.
That's right.
And the gentleman that set that up, Howard was Alex Howard was so he was one of the first people that began to realize that this was an illness that needed people to have help, and he set up this clinic. I went and I got nutritional help, which again helped no end. And I got some psychological tools that helped me, other tools such as tapping. And I think
I know about
that's
that.
something that you do. And I gradually, over about a 9-month period, got back to the state where I could work again. I was still having to be a bit careful. And certainly my social aspect, I had to be careful that my alcohol intake, my late nights and all that sort of thing were, I was just controlling those. So that sort of carried along quite happily. I began to realize that there were certain triggers as well. And once I'd realized that, I knew there were certain things that I had to be careful about. So I watched what I was doing. I was careful. Life went on. I continued working. I then, at the grand age of 40, became a mum.
Oh,
and which was absolutely fantastic. It was something that I didn't believe would happen, because I'd had lots of miscarriages. And again, that seems to be linked, or there are certainly links to chronic fatigue
yes.
with people having
Yeah.
miscarriages. So I became mum to my gorgeous, now nearly 25-year-old daughter, Fenella.
Wow.
And my partner and I, Ivan, were just delighted to become parents. Sadly, when Fenella was 6, Ivan contracted bowel cancer
Oh,
and died within a year.
my.
So I then was not only an older mum, but a single mum, bringing
Yeah.
up a bereaved child.
Wow.
So again, I I had to really draw on some of the tools that I'd learnt
Yes.
um, through through suffering from chronic fatigue, um, and it was hugely important that sleep came into it.
Yeah.
My meditation practice had stopped becoming daily, so I started doing that again, and that helped. That was brilliant. We got through all those teenage years, and Fenella was fantastic and still is fantastic. She'll look at this interview at a later stage and go, "Oh, for God's sake, Mum, stop it."
Oh,
Um,
lovely though.
but she just was a complete joy, and she and I muddled through, and
Yeah.
we got through those early years after losing Ivan.
Mm,
um then in 2016 I was diagnosed with breast cancer.
nice.
um I I was lucky in a lot of ways in that it was picked up extremely early
Great.
through my normal regular mammograms.
Yes.
So please, ladies, anybody
Mm,
listening, when you get that call to go and get your mammograms, go and get it done. Because if I hadn't have had it done, I wouldn't probably be sitting here now.
yeah.
So it was caught very early, and I did have radical surgery. So I had a mastectomy. I didn't have to have chemo, but I did have 3 weeks of radiotherapy.
Great.
And again, so many of the tools that I'd learnt in the earlier years became megally important.
Yeah.
And my meditation became again a daily thing to do. I I I recovered very quickly from my
Brilliant.
surgery and the
Mm,
radiotherapy side effects. So much so that my surgeon couldn't believe that within 6 weeks of me having my surgery, I was back working again.
wow. Wow.
And I'm sure it was really to do with, a lot of the things that I
Yeah.
had put in place whilst I was, you know, well, whilst I was recovering.
Yes.
Um, then we entered just before lockdown. I I trained as a holistic therapist many years previously, and started to read on a very regular basis about sleep deprivation and how much of a
Great.
problem it was
Yeah.
becoming for people.
Mm,
Not people who were suffering from any particular illness necessarily, but just people just sleep very difficult.
yeah.
Probably the majority of them through stress.
Mm,
Um, but I just became aware that it was becoming, well, as many people pointed out, an epidemic,
yes.
and decided then to do a lot more research into sleep, and did a sleep therapy course and became a sleep therapist. Going on a little bit, I realised that being a sleep therapist, one of the things that I had to bring to it was teaching meditation,
Yeah.
because that went part and parcel.
Yeah.
So I started my my meditation training back in January. I've just finished the course.
Brilliant.
So, and I may add with distinction, despite the fact I hadn't done
Congratulations.
essays for 30 odd years. Yeah, so here I am now, wanting to bring to as many people as I can the art of meditation,
Yeah.
learning to meditate on a daily basis to bring all the benefits that it can. And obviously one of those is to help sleep greatly.
Yeah.
So I'm starting that journey as far as a business is concerned.
Okay, great.
And here we go, I think, is all I can say.
Yes, watch
So,
this space. Gosh, that's
yeah,
exciting. And I mean, honestly, Ruth, what an amazing story there. I mean, to
yeah,
have
yeah,
so many challenges come up and come through each time. And I think you really are living proof of both the necessity for sleep
mm,
and the power of meditation and being able to help and support all of this. Because what we quite often forget is that our bodies are naturally programmed to heal themselves, and
yes,
we often just get in the way of that. So I mean,
yeah,
sleep is, people sort of think, oh, sleep's an inconvenience that gets in the way of living life. It's not. It's
yeah,
absolutely critical. It's the time during your 24 hours in which the autophagy takes place, all your cells clear out. And if you're not doing that enough or regularly, of course, things are going to back up and
yes.
it's not going to end well. So,
It's not going to end
no,
well.
I mean,
No.
yeah, so I love the way you use those tools to support yourself through
Mm,
healing for breast cancer as well.
yes. Yeah.
I mean, there's so many directions in which I would love to take this conversation. But I am going to take it down the meditation route,
Yeah.
because
Okay.
I really, I know that's what you'd love to talk about. And also from my
Yes.
perspective, just so that my audience knows how amazingly powerful it is. So
Yes.
let's go right back to basics. And
Okay.
can you sort of tell us what meditation is and also what it isn't? Because I think people maybe have a bit of confusion around that.
They do have a lot of confusion around it, and
Mm.
there are also um, a lot of ways of explaining what
Yeah.
meditation is. But I think my the easiest way for me to explain it is a small phrase that we actually came up with whilst I was doing my course,
Mm.
and that was that meditation is the practice of being present.
Right.
And really, it's as simple as that. And you can make it a little more complicated, but it's attaining focus, it's
Mm.
quietening the mind, it's concentrating inwards, it's concentrating on your own body.
Yeah.
It's just allowing yourself to be.
Yeah.
It's allowing that quietness and allowing just just that time for you to be not thinking about other things,
Mhm.
although thoughts will definitely
Yeah.
come into your mind whilst you're meditating, and that's not wrong and
No.
that's not bad. All that needs to happen then is that people just need to gently push those thoughts away, because they always will come into your mind.
Yeah.
There's no way that they won't.
No.
So is gently push those thoughts away and refocus
Mhm.
back on the body and on the breath,
Yeah.
and being at in the moment.
Yeah.
um so that's the ease. It's no more complicated than that.
No.
There's a very famous writer called Sharon Salzberg, who has written a number of books on meditation, and one of her best phrases is, if you can breathe, you can meditate,
Yeah, that's
because
wonderful.
you concentrate on the breath, and
Yes,
that's just such a simple way of putting it.
yes,
Um, they're much more complicated explanations as well, but that's a great way of me
yes.
explaining it easily to people.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah,
love that. I love the simplicity of it and the fact that it's accessible. And I know, I mean,
totally. Yeah,
once you get into it, there's different styles. People have different styles of teaching it, vipassana meditation, and even down to mindfulness, even down to actually being able to just bring it into your daily life, like
yes,
focusing on the meal you're eating. So not being
indeed.
distracted by everything else, but focusing on
Yeah,
how your food tastes.
yeah,
That whole process.
yeah,
And it's this idea that bringing it inwards, messages come up. So when those thoughts come up, they're not bad things. You get insights as to
yes,
what you're holding in your body that you
definitely.
want to let go of.
Yes,
It's just
yes,
taking energy that it
yeah,
shouldn't be.
yeah.
Um, so I know another common misconception that people have is that it's somehow linked to religion or has to be spiritual, or what would what's your feeling about that?
Of course, it is practiced within
Mm.
certain religions, but it's a totally non-secular
Yeah.
practice. You do not have to be religious to practice meditation. So anybody that does have that misconception, just let me say that you certainly don't have to have a, any religious connection, or some people use it to connect to not just religion, but also to other divinities.
Yeah.
But you don't have to have that at all. You don't. You
Mm.
can just meditate as somebody that has no religious belief or belief in anything else.
Hmm.
Um, it's certainly something that people can just put aside and not worry about.
Yeah.
Anybody can meditate.
Yeah, that's what
Yeah.
I hope to bring across, that this really is something for all and it's so beneficial for
Yes.
everyone.
Yeah.
Having said that, though,
Yeah.
I know you'll be trained in trauma and all sorts, because for me
Yes.
personally, when people were saying to me, oh, you must meditate, meditation will really help you,
Mhm.
and the first time I sat down to do it, it brought up a lot of anxiety in me, which
Yes.
I didn't understand until years later when I was studying the trauma piece and reading it's Bessel van der Kolk's amazing book, The Body Keeps the Score. And in that, he mentioned that if your body is carrying a lot of trauma, because
Yes.
you're coming right into it and accessing it,
Yes.
it can feel overwhelming. So
It can.
I always love to raise that. So for anyone who had similar experience to me and felt like, oh gosh, no, meditation isn't for me,
Yes.
that's not the case. It's an awareness. And I'm sure you have tools for sort of moving past that so you can get to the benefits, the
Yes.
beneficial
Yeah.
state of it.
And I would definitely say that exactly the same happened to me.
Right.
Once I had started practicing on a daily basis,
Mm,
um, I lost my father when I was very young, and so some of those traumas came up.
yes.
Traumas about losing Fenella's father,
Yeah.
and so yeah, definitely. And I think that's why, for me, as a teacher, not all teachers necessarily do this, but I believe in starting with short periods of
Yes.
meditation,
Yeah.
and building up.
Yeah.
And then there are, as you say, other tools. There are other people that you can gain access to that can perhaps help you with any trauma aspects.
Yeah.
Some people perhaps may find that they possibly need some counselling uh,
Yes.
whilst they're going through early meditation
Yeah.
processes.
Yeah.
That's certainly not uncommon.
Yeah.
Addictions is actually another thing that comes up quite a lot.
Yeah.
And if people have addictions that perhaps they've not acknowledged or
Mhm.
refused to acknowledge, that's something that can come up with early meditation. And again, as a teacher, I have a list of excellent people that I would
Mm.
refer any of my clients to if that were one of
Yeah.
their issues.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
It's wonderful, and it's interesting because I don't know if you, I imagine you probably do know the work of Gabor Mate, who
Yes.
talks a lot about addictions actually being a symptom of trauma. You know, we
Yes.
kind of
Without a doubt.
stigmatize them as an illness themselves. They're not. They're a symptom of something deeper that needs healing. And the
Yes.
meditation, ironically, is such a powerful tool for
Yes.
facilitating that process, as long as you've got the supports in place around you, as you say, to
Yeah.
help with
Yes.
deal with whatever comes up that's uncomfortable.
Yes. Yeah.
So yes, that's wonderful.
Yeah.
And I mean, so we've talked a little bit about, you obviously have a daily meditation
Yeah.
practice, as do
Mhm.
I.
Mhm.
And I imagine, well, I would certainly feel like that's ideally what people want to be aiming towards. But I mean, you've just
Yes.
mentioned starting slowly. So
Yeah.
is there a kind of, yeah, for someone who's interested in getting into this, is there
Yeah.
a sort of good process to follow?
Well, so with the 6-week courses that I have planned for the autumn, which will be both online and in person.
Right.
I live in Gloucestershire, and
Okay.
I'm going to be holding small classes, 6 to 8 people,
Right.
and we're going to be doing a 6-week course. And to begin with, we are just going to start off with 2-minute
Okay.
meditations,
Mhm.
and build up over those 6 weeks.
Yeah.
And my advice to anybody who came to any of my courses or anybody I talk to about meditation, if you find that doing too much, it is bringing too much trauma up,
Mm.
then maybe take the quantity of time down a little,
Yes.
and not try to do 20 minutes, half an hour
Mhm.
right at the very beginning. Build it up
Yeah.
slowly. Not all meditation teachers agree with that, but that's my feeling
Yeah.
and my experience. So that's what I would say is build it up gradually. Try different types of meditation. Again, within my courses, I I I don't. There are 10 different types of meditation
Okay.
within my courses. Because they're beginners courses, I will only deal with 4 to
Okay.
begin with, and they'll be the easier
Yeah.
ones. So there'll be breath meditation, there'll be mantra meditation, which doesn't need to be om, as a
No.
lot of people think. You
Yeah.
can use the word calm, you can use the word peace, you can use whatever resonates with you.
Yeah.
We'll be doing visualization, which I think is a really great type of meditation
Mm.
for people to start with.
Yeah.
And we'll also be doing a certain amount of mindfulness as well,
Okay.
which although is not a strict meditation, well, it is a type of meditation, but
Mm.
because you're not concentrating on your inward self, you're concentrating on what you're doing or what you're seeing, hearing, smelling.
Yes.
It's a slightly different way of meditating. So those would be the 4 that I will start with.
Okay.
And we'll be doing those throughout the 6-week course,
Yeah.
and building them up very slowly. And if I feel anybody is finding that difficult,
Mm.
then I will just tell them to take the the
Yeah.
length of time that they're doing down a little bit.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's lovely to work in a small group where you can really get to know everyone individually and
Absolutely.
actually tailor it to what's right and appropriate
Yes.
to them.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, obvious question, you said 6-week course. Is
Mhm.
that because you're like, oh, you'll be cured in 6 weeks? I imagine
Uh,
not. But
no.
you know, is there any sort of sense of time frame if someone came along to you and said, what, how long could I expect to need to meditate for to recover? I mean, I have my own views on that, but I'm really interested to hear how you approach that
Right.
question.
Okay. I suppose I don't so much look on it as a recovery. From a recovery point of view, I just now look upon it as something that I find necessary to do
Yeah.
on a daily basis to keep me
Yeah.
in a good state of physical, mental, and emotional health.
Yeah.
So I would say to people, and it's different for everybody, because certain people will find even within a few days of doing short periods of meditation, they'll feel certain things start to shift.
Yeah.
And they can be, you know, the positive things.
Yes.
So,
Yes.
you know, they can find that can happen. Other people will find it much more difficult. Other people will find sticking points that they need some help through. And it will take them longer before they feel benefits. So everybody's journey with meditation is very different.
Yeah.
But for me, it's now part and parcel of my life, and I'm sure it is yours.
It is. Yeah.
And I think the majority of people that I've met throughout my meditation journey, those that teach, those that come on retreats or do all those sorts of things, it's a daily thing for them.
Yeah.
And it's that actually brings quite nicely onto another point that people stick at, and that is, I haven't got enough time to
Yeah.
meditate on
Yeah.
a daily basis. And my answer to that is, you have, if you want to make the time to do it.
Exactly.
And the time when you choose to do it, whether it be, you needn't do it at the same time every day, although many people do. You can just do it at different points during the day. And even if you were able to carry on a daily basis, some days you may just be able to do 10 minutes or even 5 minutes, but you would ideally 20 minutes. I meditate for 20 minutes a day.
Yeah.
Some people meditate for a lot more than that.
I'm one of those. Yeah.
But you're one of those. Sometimes I will. Sometimes I'll meditate more than once a day.
Yeah.
Again, it depends on how I'm feeling. But everybody's journey is different. But I would say that the majority of people find benefits relatively quickly.
Yeah.
Of some sort.
Yes, I agree with you, everything you said there. And just to unpack some of that a little bit, I feel like it's helpful to think of this as a process.
Yes.
It's facilitating you dealing with life in a way.
Yes.
So it's a bit like, if you're saying, well, how long do I do it for? It's a bit like asking, well, how long do I need to eat meals for?
Yes. Yeah.
And so it becomes not about reaching an end goal, but it's about the process of discovery and supporting yourself on a daily basis.
Yes.
And yes, so for me, my practice, I have a basic practice that's first thing in the morning.
Yes.
That's as much in my routine as brushing my teeth and eating breakfast. And if I miss the meditation, it feels odd.
Yes.
And then, you know, if I'm having a really stressful day, I might bring in another sit down quietly and meditate just to bring myself back down.
Yeah.
Or, you know, I often usually do a shorter meditation before bed, because it just calms everything down, so you're set up for sleep.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yes, and like you say, it is initially, it does feel difficult making the time, saying, oh, I'm going to take this chunk.
Yeah.
Once you start doing it and start feeling calmer, you know, maybe even seeing symptoms improving, whatever happens for you, it's not a chore anymore, because you're just so aware of the benefits.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
And, you know, spot meditations throughout the day. You know, somebody sitting at their desk that suddenly, not that many people sit at their desks and suddenly find themselves with spare minutes. I don't think that happens these days.
No.
But, you know, if you do, or if you're having a stressful morning at work, take yourself into the loo.
Yeah.
And do, you know, just do 2 minutes of counting breaths.
Yes.
Or just breathing steadily. You know, it doesn't have to be complicated. You can bring it in sitting on a bus, sitting on a tube.
Yes.
It takes practice, I think, for some people to find that they can meditate in a variety of places. But that might take time for some people. But you can, and you can certainly get used to doing that. But a lot of people will find initially they need a quiet space without noise and interruption. But I think that improves with time.
Yes, I've found
so
that true.
So definitely you can bring it in at any point during the day. You know, spot meditations, fantastic.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, and I know we've sort of touched on this a little bit in terms of what meditation can help with. It's another common thing, you know, are there particular conditions that it helps with, which just your story says, well, it's helped with chronic fatigue, it's helped with bereavement, it's helped with cancer, so huge range. So maybe if we could talk a little tiny bit about that, but also bring in another angle of actually how does it work? If it is helping all these different things, what is it actually doing that's so beneficial?
I think the main thing it's doing is bringing into play our parasympathetic nervous system. So just calming our bodies down. And therefore, because that's happening, all things are happening biologically, because that's going on. So your blood pressure is dropping, your heart rate is dropping. You know, so many sort of factors are happening just because that stress response is being quietened. You know, the fight, everybody will probably know the phrase fight and flight. So when you're in a state of fight and flight, your stress hormones, mainly, there are more, but mainly cortisol and adrenaline are at the fore. You're calming those down when your parasympathetic system starts to kick in. And it's so that's really what that's the basis of what happens. And then the other benefits that accrue from that are multiple. You know, but both from our mind point of view, from an emotional point of view, things, so much is going on then in the brain, as far as neurotransmitters. Everything is starting to calm. Your emotional center in your brain is starting to calm. You're becoming more rational, you're becoming less impulsive. So many things happen. But that's initially why. That's, I think, a really simple way of explaining it.
Yes, I love that, and that's very, very much in alignment with what I share with people on my own website in my own work.
mm.
And it's just, we've somehow got disconnected from the idea that our bodies actually are designed to be in balance, in health. And
Yes,
we just get in the way of that. So what it's
absolutely.
essentially bringing it into the parasympathetic nervous system is bringing your body into maintenance mode, and
Yeah,
then you just let it run on the maintenance. It has the wisdom to say, to
yes,
recognize, oh, there's a problem over here, and the
yeah,
wisdom to fix that if you just allow that to happen. So,
indeed. Yes,
which is
yeah,
so powerful and so simple at the same time. It's
exactly,
really amazing. Yeah,
exactly,
yes.
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
So, is there anything, any other aspects that we haven't sort of touched on here that you would like to bring to people's attention? It feels like we've
I
covered a lot of angles and ground.
Yeah, I mean, you know, what one of the things that we haven't mentioned, and this, I mean, this sort of comes into the corporate world, and I
Mm,
have done a number of small talks for smaller companies with, you know,
yeah,
10 to 15
right.
employees, about the way in which meditation, you know, can make uh, everybody far more effective.
Yeah,
You know, their efficiency improves, their productivity improves.
yes.
So those are other benefits that, as you say, you know, we haven't really looked at, and, you know, could go on about for ages and
Yeah,
ages. But, you know, they're many and varied,
yes.
and if only a lot of employers were to recognise
Mm,
that stress, which causes so many employees to take days off, if
yeah,
only employers brought in people like meditation teachers, like
yeah.
people like yourself, to explain that
Mm,
actually, if employees are allowed to take a bit of time, take a bit of space, maybe get to a class at lunchtime or do something, that would greatly improve not only their own health and benefits,
mm,
but also companies as well.
yes,
So yeah, that's you know, that's another element that people
yeah,
just don't think about. One
yeah,
of the things I also, for me, one of the other things that meditating brought very back very early for me was, and it's funny because I know what you used to do in before you did what you do now.
yeah.
You used to do a lot of beadwork,
That's
didn't you?
right. Yes.
I used to make jewelry,
Oh, lovely.
and so my creativity, that's one aspect that, when I started meditating on a regular basis, my creativity was hugely boosted.
Yeah. Mm,
And I found I I was much more able to, I got greater ideas, I got greater insights. I became much more sympathetic, much more understanding,
yeah.
empathetic, perhaps.
Yeah.
There were all those sort of things that happened
Hmm.
as well. You know, meditation really is magic.
It
It's
absolutely,
it's
it
you
really
know,
is. Yes. Yeah.
that's a good way of explaining it.
Yeah. There
That
you go. It's tagline
yeah,
for the new course. Meditation is magic.
absolutely,
Um, so,
absolutely.
well, I really hope that this is, anyone watching this is really encouraged to try this now.
Yeah,
So, assuming that they are, what's the
yes.
best place to start?
Right, okay. Well, I always feel that people can do lots of reading, lots of YouTubing, lots of app listening, but the best place and best way to learn to meditate is with a teacher.
Yeah.
you get the support, of a group, although you can do it on a one-to-one basis, but then you get the support of your teacher as well. It's a far more efficient way, I think, of learning to meditate properly.
Yes.
It doesn't mean that those other things aren't useful, because with apps like Headspace, Calm, Insight, there are many of them, are brilliant and helpful. But learning to meditate with a teacher, I think, is the best way to do it.
Yeah.
And in September, during September, late August and September, I'm going to be doing some free masterclasses.
Oh, wonderful.
Just explaining, as we've talked about today, about meditation.
Yes. Yeah.
And introducing some of the courses that I'm going to be doing come the autumn.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be doing those online as well as locally in Gloucestershire.
Fabulous.
So yeah, so that's where I'm going to be going as far as the business is concerned.
Yes.
In the future, and hopefully teach many more people to meditate and gain, that magic.
Yes, I mean, you're gaining everything on all levels, physically, mentally, creatively, in the workspace.
Indeed.
It feeds across absolutely everything. So
yes. Yeah.
So finally, just to end up, I mean, you've mentioned your courses, which sounds brilliant. So where can people find you?
Okay, so I've been fairly dormant, I think is the best way to put it, over the time that I've been doing the course. But I'm on LinkedIn, and I'm on LinkedIn as Ruth Watkins 29, and I'm on Instagram, and I'm on Instagram as sleepsuccess.meditation.
Okay.
And as we're doing interviews, I will be setting up my YouTube channel, but that hasn't got a name at the moment.
Okay.
And I'm also hoping to start working through Pinterest as well.
Oh, lovely.
Facebook is not something I use. I may start using it in the future. I don't know. But LinkedIn and Instagram are going to be the places to be looking out, from August.
Yes. And do you have a website or any plans
I
for that?
don't. I'd love to have a website. It'll never be as great as yours, because oh my God, your website is just awesome.
Oh, thank you.
But yes, I would like to have a website, so that will be something I'll be looking into in the future.
Brilliant. Well, I'll make sure that I add those handles down in the comments below for anyone watching this, in case they missed anything, because I really urge you to go and check Ruth out. I mean, Ruth, thank you. It's been such a joy to speak to you, to explore this really powerful magic, and your passion and your knowledge has just come shining through. So thank you for taking the time to share that.
Thank you so much for having me, Katie. It's been a pleasure talking to you today. And I look forward to talking to you again. And remember, everyone, meditation is magic. That's my key phrase now.
It is, and that's what a beautiful note on which to end. So thank you everyone for watching this, and I hope that's brought inspiration, tips, and you will be tuning in to finding your own personal magic as soon as you can.
Indeed. Thank you, Katie.
Thank you. Well, I hope that's given you some helpful tips that you can bring into your life right away and start enjoying a little bit more energy. Please subscribe to my channel so that I can share more energy boosting tips and advice with you. And if you want to know how you can work with me to overcome burnout or get on the recovery path for chronic fatigue syndrome, then please visit my website, findmyenergy.co.uk. Thank you very much for watching today, and I look forward to sharing more energy saving tips with you in my other videos again soon.